This week's episode of Amazon's The Boys was all about relationships. We'll be looking into what went down, referring to the show's source material, and filling you in on the memes and Easter eggs we spotted along the way. Hit that subscribe button and bell and shovel some almond joy into your face as if you were a serial killer. I'm Chris Carr. Let's talk about episode 4 of The Boys. Before we dive in, I want to give a shout out to our super nerd sponsor of the day, Renzi Montez. Thanks to heroes like them, I get to dissect shows and comics with y'all, so thank you so much. Spoiler warning! As always, y'all, these videos contain spoilers. And not just about what's in the actual episode, but a few bits and pieces from the comics that could clue us into things to come. You've been warned. What felt like some weird sort of reimagining of the relationship anecdotes from When Harry Met Sally turned out to be interviews conducted by the Deep and Carol as the two searched to find him a wife amongst the Church of the Collective's congregation. Deep getting settled down as part of his rebranding efforts to return to the Seven. As I said last week, the show is not pulling punches when it comes to this thinly veiled stand-in for Scientology. This audition process harkens to those rumors that the church helped Tom Cruise hold auditions for potential wives. These cutaways set the tone for the episode. It let us know this wasn't going to be your typical boys hack and slash fare. We were going to talk about connection and take a more introspective look at our characters. While we're on the subject of wives, Billy reunites with his wife Becca. Butcher breaks into the Vought facility where she's been kept this entire time. Ultimately, Becca decides to not escape with Butcher and stay with her son Ryan. She tells Billy that she's not the person who saves him. Only he has the power to do that. What's amazing about this whole exchange is that Becca's dialogue is basically pulled directly from excerpts of her diary in the issue Butcher Baker Candlestick Maker. Becca writes that Billy would stop at nothing to get revenge, and that she doesn't understand how he views her as this amazing woman. She's not that special. She's just a girl who loves him. The writers did a fantastic job of adapting this excerpt to work for this scene. Oh, I love this storyline so much. It's so much more interesting for Billy to have his whole life's mission turned upside down and shift so drastically. I mean, he's dedicated his life to avenging his wife. Now that he knows she's alive, he has to fight for her. And he can't be as careless with his own life. Someone has to save Becca. This exchange reinforces what was said in the online short film Butcher, a piece released to fill in Billy's timeline after leaving Tony Cicero's. Billy's got a violent streak. And people don't change. He's always gone too far and been too violent, even before this crusade against Homelander. By resurrecting Becca for the storyline, Butcher will have to deal with not just a fight to save his wife, but a fight to be worthy of her. He's gone down a dark path since he believed her to be dead. Before, he was always one bad day from going too far. Now he's gone beyond any of the violence Becca could have possibly envisioned him being capable of. He's going to have to confront that monster that lies within him. This could allow for us to learn more about his troubled past and childhood. Shocker of all shocks, Billy had a horrible father, y'all. So Billy doesn't hate kids, Billy hates fathers. And he fears becoming one because of all the awful that's in his blood. Annie gets some much needed time away from Seven Tower. Let's talk about what a pro our girl Starlight is. Homelander is basically a lie detector. His heightened senses allow him to hear if a heart is pounding, smell someone's fear sweats, and notice all the little ticks that can manifest when someone's lying. By stating that she wasn't with Huey, that he broke her heart, and that she wasn't about to murder someone, Annie didn't lie, but she still threw Homelander off of what she's been up to. Annie and Huey have so many cute moments this episode, from singing Billy Joel's We Didn't Start the Fire, to talking about serial killers and candy bars, to hooking up and Starlight showing us another one of her powers, mood lighting. But this was all too good to last. This is The Boys after all. Can anyone be happy? Fun fact, We Didn't Start the Fire was on Billy Joel's 1989 album titled Stormfront. Annie and MM connect in this episode as well, over food and their fathers. This is a very sweet exchange. Until you remember that MM made a 31 flavors of semen joke and has this deep connection to Baskin-Robbins and their 31 flavors his dad would try.
Ooh. The Cots? They got 31 flavors of semen on them. You'll love them.
MM has been pretty tightly wound and tidy throughout the series. But this is the first time his OCD is really addressed. It would seem that his father had similar obsessive behaviors. We learn that Mother's Milk's dad was a lawyer who worked tirelessly to take down Vought due to some problems the family had with the corporation. Problems MM does not want to get into. What did Vought do to his family? In the comics, Mother's Milk and his mentally challenged brother were Compound V kids. His mother worked in a Vought lab that had been contaminated with Compound V, and thus the boys were born with the drug in their blood. His brother Michael died when his super ability manifested. MM also gained powers in the comics, like enhanced strength and stamina. We'll see if this is the storyline and issue that plays out in the show. One of the bombshells of this episode was the reveal that Stormfront and Liberty were one and the same. Huey, MM, and Annie follow Mallory's lead on the 1970s soup to Raleigh, North Carolina, where a woman named Valerie tells how her family accepted a buyout from Vought after the hero Liberty brutally murdered her brother. Liberty claimed his car had been involved in a robbery that evening and proceeded to say that by killing him, a black man, she was a hero. Valerie then claimed that Stormfront was the woman who committed this heinous crime, still terrified that 48 years later she'd come after her if she spoke about the incident. Not sure how no one put these two together, since Liberty seems like she was just as famous then. I mean, she was in Budweiser ads after all. But then again, she was wearing a mask, a hood, and maybe she wasn't using lightning powers back in the day. Vought is a pretty well-oiled machine, so I would imagine they know who she is. The boys on 82 specifically placed her in the 7 after all. Why do that? Why rebrand Liberty? Perhaps the corporation decommissioned Liberty after the kill and waited till the timing was just right for her to reemerge as this electrifying social media maven. In the 48 years she was MIA, the company could have been experimenting on her, finding ways to imbue her with new powers. We continue to find out that the live-action Stormfront and her comic counterpart have much more in common than we originally believed. Though not outright confirmed, Stormfront's line of "change with the times, I did," seems to suggest that she's been around for a long time. And Annie's suggestion that perhaps she doesn't age at the same rate due to Compound V is exactly the case in the comics. Stormfront is well into his 70s there, yet still relatively young-looking and a formidable fighter whose strength is on par with Homelander's. We know this character is racist AF. She's the one who killed those 59 people. One of my favorite theories I've seen is that Stormfront, aka Liberty, was raised by Vought founder and Nazi scientist Frederick Vought, so as to explain her incredibly hateful ideals, as well as why she may have some Compound V extras like slowed aging. Stormfront's namesake is a white nationalist, white supremacist, Holocaust-denying neo-Nazi forum said to be the internet's first major racial hate site. Now, running with the power of the internet, Stormfront's use of memes to engage with her young audience was an outstanding choice. Memes are easily replicated, edited, and are an effective way to spread an ideology. This is how she rallies her troops. The internet thrives on outrage culture. This truly is where Stormfront wields her power. She's an Alex Jones. She doesn't have fans. She has soldiers. We see a slew of memes reinterpreted for Stormfront's use. For just a couple of Arby's gift cards, you too can have 5 dudes on laptops craft online fodder for you. These effectively communicate that she's a stronger, better equipped leader for the 7, and begin to sway the public's opinion on the supergroup and Homelander. Some of these include memes as old as time, such as Distracted Boyfriend, Firestarter Girl, and Go Home, You're Drunk. Using some tired trash memes could also be a joke playing into the right can't meme. We've seen Homelander exhibit racist behavior, and we know there are folks in this version of the US who associate Homelander with the ideals of the Confederacy, based off of that mural we catch a glimpse of during the road trip to Raleigh. After that exchange about helping Homelander in whatever capacity he wishes, dollars to donuts, Stormfront is set to open a rhetoric about race and tout Homelander as the ideal white man. I mean, his eyeballs are so fucking blue. He's an Aryan poster boy, and Nazis love a blonde-haired, bright-eyed fella. We've already heard Stormfront talk about problematic people being let into our borders. Girl is just getting started revving up her hashtag storm chasers. This episode also saw A-Train's removal from the 7, since his powers and his heart aren't what they used to be. Homelander unceremoniously informed him of this decision, and it's just one of the many examples of Homelander peeling off his own glossy veneer. He's cracking, and he doesn't have time to mince words and play nice. He has America to win back and milk to drink. Homelander is so unhinged, which is absolutely terrifying. That dead-eyed smile throughout his interview with Maria Menounos? Chilling. He stoops to new lows in this episode. He outs Maeve on national television. A person's decision to come out is so personal, and this is just another moment where we see Homelander take a woman's power away. Though he tells Maeve he's freed her and Elena, I think it's safe for Maeve and all of us in the audience to stay on the edge of our seat and anticipate Homelander completely lashing out. The most banana stuff with Homelander, though, were definitely his interactions with Doppelganger. He's acting on his lactophilia and having Doppelganger take on the form of Stillwell for the majority of the episode. The two weirdly consume dairy, frick, and watch Taxi Driver. Taxi Driver is Homelander's go-to pick-me-up movie when he's feeling down because he relates to the character Travis Bick. Both feel their white male privilege is being threatened, and both justify lashing out violently in response to that threat. This isn't the only Taxi Driver reference in the episode. Kimiko's attempt at going after Stormfront at her rally mirrors when Travis attempted to kill presidential candidate Charles Palantine. But Taxi Driver and weird Oedipus complexy sex with a shape-shifting soup aren't what Homelander needs by the end of the episode. He just needs himself. Always aiming to please, Doppelganger morphs into Homelander, offering the hero to have sex with himself. Homelander shifts from aroused to intrigued to disgusted to murderous, snapping Doppelganger's neck. Homelander kills this version of himself, someone on their knees, someone begging to be liked. He finds this reflection of himself to be completely pathetic, and this version does not serve him. He is not going to be the guy who'll do anything to win people over. That Homelander is dead. A startling end to the episode, and a smart move on the writer's part. We won't question every scene wondering if it's Doppel or the real McCoy. This also literally snaps us back into the tone we're used to. Sinister, unsettling, over-the-top violence. We know that next week the boys will be setting booby traps and dealing with Black Noir, who spent this episode tracking down Butcher. I'm interested to see what the plan is with Black Noir. In the comics, he's revealed to be a clone of Homelander that Vought made in case Homelander ever stepped out of line. While waiting in the wings to take center stage, Black Noir unravels and tries to kickstart replacing Homelander by framing him for crimes, like acts of cannibalism and raping Becca. The show's made it very clear that Homelander is the one who attacked Becca, so I feel like that's out. But we could still get this clone reveal. And maybe next week we'll find out what he's got against Almond Joy. And of course, my anticipated moment comes next week, seeing the goodest dirty boy terror in action. Ugh, if that dog doesn't hump everything in sight, what are we even doing? Of course, these are just my thoughts on this week's episode. Where do you stand on episode 4 of The Boys? Hit me with your hot takes in the comments below. If you liked this video, do us a favor and give it a like. And hey, thank you so much for watching. Till next time, I'll see you, Space Cowboy.